And today, I have to admit, I'm pretty upset because we just learned today, just as I was getting ready to write my articles today to do the things that I do, I was going through the news and we learned that Joe Biden has decided to approve of the Ukraine using long-range missiles provided by the United States to strike targets deep inside of Russia. So, and I've got pulled up on the screen, I've got the article from CBS News. It just came over the wires, and I've got a couple of paragraphs highlighted there. I want to read this for you, and then I want to react because it's imperative for people to understand that this is a major turning point. This is a really, really big deal. So let me read this, and then I'll tell you what I'm feeling right now because I'm feeling a lot of emotions. I'm sure you will be too once you understand the gravity of the situation. But let me read these highlighted paragraphs right here on the screen. This is from CBS News. President Biden has given the okay to lift restrictions that will allow Ukraine to use U.S.-provided long-range weapons to strike deep into Russian territory, a U.S. official confirmed to CBS News on Sunday. The move is a significant change to U.S. policy in the ongoing Ukraine-Russia conflict. The easing of restrictions would allow Kiev to use the Army Tactical Missile System, or ATACMS, to hit targets inside Russia. The move also comes as some 10,000 North Korean troops were sent to Kursk, near Ukraine's northern border, to help Russian forces retake territory. Okay, and those of you that are my regular readers, you know that I've been warning about this for a long time, that, once North Korean troops came, the Biden administration said, well, if you're going to do that, well, we might allow Ukraine to use long-range missiles provided by us to strike targets deep inside of Russian territory. And I really hope that they would not do this. But the first thing, one of the reasons why I'm so upset about this, one of the reasons, is because this was not Joe Biden's decision to make. This was Donald Trump's decision to make. We just had an election, and we elected a new president whose stated goal is to bring the war in Ukraine to a conclusion. And yet Joe Biden is unilaterally making a decision. His presidency is almost over, but he's making a decision not just for Trump. He's making a decision for all of us, which could ultimately lead to World War III. So a decision on foreign policy of this magnitude in terms of the decision for the future, this is a decision moving forward into the future, into the next number of years, however many years we have, but this is a decision that was supposed to be for Trump. Trump should be the one making this decision when he takes office in January, whether these weapons are whether we're going to allow Ukraine to use these weapons to hit targets deep inside of Russia. First of all, it makes me very upset and very, frankly, angry that Joe Biden made this decision. And I don't know if he's trying to force Trump to stay engaged in this war in Ukraine, or if he's trying to start World War III before he leaves office, or what he's trying to do. I don't know what Joe Biden's motives are, but this was not his decision to make. Secondly, I'm very upset about this because the Russians have already said what this is going to mean to them. And I want you to picture how would you feel? It's one thing if someone uses missiles to target, say, a U.S. military base in Syria, right? Because we're engaged in war. It's the theater of war. We'll strike back, but that's one thing. But it's another thing entirely for another country to be pummeling Washington, D.C. with long-range missiles. If someone did that to us, we would nuke them, okay? You have to understand that. Now, the Russians on the other side see the things the same way. As long as if U.S.-provided missiles were being used by Ukraine to hit Russian forces inside the theater of war in the conflict zone, the Russians were not going to go nuts, okay? The Russians didn't like it, but they were like, okay, we're going to have to live with this. Okay, but the Russians have already said, if you start using long-range missiles, you start firing them at Moscow, you start firing them at St. Petersburg, you start firing them at targets deep inside our country, start killing our civilians, start hitting our cities with these long-range missiles. First of all, since they're provided by the United States, and presumably now other NATO countries will do the same thing, Russia's saying, well, if your weapons are being used to hit our cities and our targets deep inside our country, well, we consider U.S. targets and NATO targets to be fair game. Okay? And so then that puts us dangerously close, that essentially brings us to the point of a direct conflict with Russia, a direct war with Russia, which we do not want. And then beyond that, Russia is saying if you use long-range missiles against Moscow or our other major cities, that gives us the right to consider the use of nuclear weapons. So this decision literally puts us on the brink of potentially nuclear conflict. So this is a very, very foolish decision. This is crossing the red line. This is crossing the red line to take this conflict to a whole nother level. So people need to understand this. The article that I've written about this video, share it with others so they understand, because most Americans aren't going to understand. They're like, oh yeah, there's a war going on over there, something about missiles. I don't really get it all. People need to understand the Biden administration, if they haven't done enough damage to us, now they've crossed the red line into basically World War III territory. So this is it, guys. This is huge. This is a bombshell. You know, and of course, the Russians, let me show you another article over here. Ukraine announced, this is just posted on Yahoo News from AFP, Ukraine announces power restrictions after massive Russian attack. There was just the second paragraph there. Let me highlight it for you. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Moscow launched 120 missiles and almost 100 drones targeting Kiev, as well as southern, central, and far western corners of the country. So just in the past few days, Russia's really amped things up, targeting Kiev and other cities deep inside Ukraine. The power infrastructure is under threat. So for quite a while, this war in Ukraine has kind of simmered, and most people in the Western world could safely ignore it because it wasn't directly affecting us too much. But now, man, we're going to another level, and this is extremely dangerous. And people out there watching might think, "Oh, Trump is coming. He's going to be there in a couple months." But we may not have a couple months. By a couple months from now, who knows what this is going to look like, or who knows it's going to look like in the Middle East. Zero hedge today. Israeli troops reached deepest point in Lebanon since ground op began. Apparently, they reached a point 3 miles inside the border there. So that, this clash between Israel and Hezbollah, Israel's been bombing Syria on basically almost a daily basis now. Then we're waiting for Iran to strike back against Israel. That's going to happen. It could happen tonight. Could happen anytime, where Iran's next attack against Israel, which will be larger than last time. Israel's saying, if you hit us, we're going to hit you back even harder than we did previously. And so that could erupt to an apocalyptic level at any time. So we're watching that. One more thing that I wanted to mention very quickly. New York Times, you see on the screen, first U.S. case of severe form of monkeypox reported in California. The much deadlier, much higher death rate, much easier to spread. It's not just spread by sexual contact, but it can be spread by casual contact, apparently. That's what the scientists are telling us. But in any case, much, much deadlier form of Mpox. It had been in Africa. Now it's in the United States. I think I'm going to write about an article about this on my Substack later today. So look for that on michaeltsnyder.substack.com. Or if you go down into the description, the link for the Substack will be in the description. So look for that. So we've been watching this. This could, we'll see. This could become something huge. I don't know yet, but I'm going to dig into this and write about it later today. So look for that on the Substack. Thank you for tuning in. Guys, like, subscribe, comment on these videos. That helps us reach more people, helps us get this information out to more people. So just a short video today. I wanted to let you know what I'm thinking because what we're witnessing in the news today, literally, major apocalyptic events are happening right in front of our eyes, guys. So get ready because things are about to get really, really crazy.